Hello, survivors. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the story. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel. We appreciate it, and thank you in advance. Please leave the name of the city you're listening from in the comment section below. It helps us see our reach in the community. Let's start the story. For 6 years, I'd built my brand as the Endless Appetite, streaming massive eating challenges from my apartment in Queens, New York. 3 million subscribers watched me devour everything from ghost pepper wings to 5-pound burritos. The more outrageous the challenge, the more views I got. The more views I got, the more I ate. It was a cycle that left me at 384 pounds and barely able to walk up a flight of stairs without getting winded. That morning started like any other. I was preparing for my weekly Feast Friday stream, arranging platters of food across my desk. 4 double cheeseburgers, 3 large pizzas, hot wings, and enough sides to feed a small family. The late afternoon sun streamed through my 15th floor apartment windows, casting long shadows across my recording setup. My phone buzzed constantly with notifications. Social media was blowing up about some new virus, riots breaking out in Manhattan, emergency broadcasts interrupting regular programming. But I barely glanced at the headlines. Nothing was going to interrupt my stream. I had sponsors to please and viewers to entertain. At 6 p.m., I went live. "What's up, food warriors? Thaddeus here with another Feast Friday." My greeting felt hollow, rehearsed after thousands of repetitions. The chat immediately filled with messages, but something was different. Instead of the usual excitement about what I'd be eating, viewers were asking if I'd seen the news, warning me to stay inside, telling me to check what was happening downtown. I laughed it off, playing up my usual carefree persona. "Guys, the only emergency here is how I'm going to fit all this food in my stomach." The joke fell flat, but I pressed on, taking massive bites of the first burger as more warnings flooded the chat. Through my open window, distant sirens wailed across the city. More than usual, even for New York, but I kept eating. My viewers were posting about violence in Manhattan, about subway stations being closed, about some kind of mass panic. I ignored it all, focused on my performance. "You guys worry too much," I said between bites. "This is New York, there's always something going on. Now who wants to bet I can finish this entire pizza in under 5 minutes? The chat was moving faster than I'd ever seen it. Viewer count climbing as people shared my stream. Some warning others to watch what was happening in Queens, others betting on whether I'd notice the chaos before it was too late. But I just kept eating, kept talking, kept playing my role. Emergency alerts flashed across my second monitor, but I minimized them. The building's security system pinged with warnings about the lobby being locked down, but I muted the notifications. Nothing was going to stop this stream. I had a reputation to maintain. "Listen up, food warriors," I announced, starting my 3rd burger. "We're going for a record tonight. No breaks, no excuses, just me and enough food to feed an army. Let's make history." My chat erupted with a mix of cheers and warnings. Someone said they could hear screaming in the background of my stream. Another claimed they saw something disturbing through my window. I brushed it all off, determined to give them the show they'd subscribed for. If only I'd looked outside sooner. If only I'd listened to their warnings. But I was too wrapped up in my performance, too convinced of my own invulnerability in my little digital kingdom. The stream counter hit 100,000 viewers. I smiled at the camera, oblivious to what was coming. "All right, warriors, you ready for the main event?" The pounding on my door started just as I was about to tackle the second pizza. My chat exploded with warnings, but I played it up for the camera. "Looks like one of my neighbors smelled all this food," I joked, waving a slice at the camera. "Sorry, folks, this feast is all mine." The banging grew more intense. Something about the rhythm felt wrong. Not like someone knocking, but like something throwing itself against the wood. My smile faltered as I heard a strange guttural sound from the hallway. "Hold on. Chat. Let me check who—" The door burst open with a crash that made me jump. My blood turned to ice as I saw what stood in the doorway. It was my neighbor, Mr. Reynolds from 15C. Or what was left of him. His expensive suit was soaked in dark stains, His skin had a sickly gray pallor, and his eyes were vacant, pupils blown wide with a predatory emptiness that made my skin crawl. He lurched forward, mouth opening impossibly wide. A wet, rattling sound escaped his throat as he moved toward me with terrible purpose. My chat was screaming in all caps now, telling me to run, to hide, to fight back. I tried to back away, but my heavy frame made me slow. My hip caught the edge of my desk, sending plates crashing to the floor. The sound drew his attention, and he lunged at me with frightening speed. His hands were like claws as they grabbed my arm. I screamed, more from shock than pain, and instinctively shoved him back. My size worked in my favor. All those pounds of excess weight became pure mass as I pushed him away from me. He stumbled backward, but didn't fall. That's when I noticed movement in the hallway behind him. More shapes lurched past my broken door, drawn by the noise. Their movements were stiff but determined, heads turning toward the sound of my panicked breathing. My mind refused to process what I was seeing. These weren't people anymore. They were something else. The word infected flashed through my chat, along with fragments of news reports I'd ignored earlier. Mr. Reynolds came at me again. This time, I grabbed my heavy wooden desk chair and swung it at him. The impact sent him staggering toward my floor-to-ceiling windows. Without thinking, I charged forward, using my weight to slam him against the glass. The window cracked. For a split second, we both stood there, his teeth snapping inches from my face. Then the glass gave way completely. I stumbled backward as Mr. Reynolds disappeared through the broken window. The sound of shattering glass drew more of them into my apartment. My chat was going crazy, thousands of people watching in horror as the scene unfolded. Panting heavily, I finally looked outside. Queens was burning. Smoke rose from multiple buildings, and the streets below were chaos. Cars crashed into each other as people fled from shambling figures that moved with singular, hungry focus. Sirens wailed in the distance, and scattered gunshots echoed between buildings. "Oh God," I whispered. My streaming persona completely forgotten. "Oh God, this is real." More infected pushed into my apartment. I backed toward my bedroom, my mind racing. I had to find a weapon, had to figure out how to survive. My eyes landed on my laptop, still streaming, still connecting me to thousands of witnesses. "I have to go," I told my viewers, my voice shaking. "If anyone's watching this, and get somewhere safe. This isn't a prank, this isn't content, this is..." An infected woman in a postal uniform lunged at me. I barely managed to dodge, but my foot caught on a fallen plate. I went down hard, my weight making the impact jar through my entire body. She was on me in seconds, her teeth closing on empty air inches from my neck. The postal worker's teeth found my forearm as I tried to push her away. I screamed as they sank deep into my flesh, tearing through skin and muscle. With strength born of panic, I kicked her off me and scrambled into my bedroom, slamming the door shut and turning the lock. My arm burned where she'd bitten me. Blood ran down my fingers, dripping onto the carpet as I pushed my dresser against the door. The infected pounded on the other side, their hollow sounds muffled by the wood. My hands shook as I grabbed my laptop from my desk, setting up a makeshift streaming station on my bed. The viewer count had topped 600,000 now. Comments flooded the chat faster than I could read them. "Yeah, I got bit," I said, holding up my bleeding arm to the camera. My voice trembled, but I forced myself to keep talking. "But we're not done yet. Food warriors, you're going to see this through with me." The pounding on my door grew louder. I could hear wood splintering as they threw themselves against it. My dresser shuddered with each impact. "I spent 6 years sharing every meal with you," I continued, sweat beading on my forehead. "Was it from fear or fever? Might as well share this too." My chat was a blur of emotions. People begging me to find help, others saying goodbye. Some just spamming crying emojis. I read as many comments as I could, responding to them like this was just another regular stream. "No, I'm not leaving," I told them, wincing as pain shot through my arm. "Where would I go? I can barely make it down one flight of stairs without getting winded on a good day. At least here I can show people what's happening. Maybe help them survive." Through my bedroom window, I could see fires spreading across Queens. Distant explosions lit up the darkening sky, and the sounds of screaming seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Listen," I said, my breathing becoming more labored. "If you're somewhere safe, stay there. If you're not—" I paused, wiping sweat from my eyes. "If you're not, then run. These things, these infected, they're strong, they're fast, and they don't stop coming." The dresser shifted slightly with a particularly hard impact. I knew it wouldn't hold much longer. My arm throbbed and I could feel heat spreading from the bite, working its way through my body. "I don't know how much time I have left," I admitted to my viewers, my voice growing hoarse. "But I'm going to keep streaming as long as I can. You deserve to know what's happening. You deserve to see the truth." The sun had almost set now, casting my room in deep shadows. In the dim light, I could see my skin taking on a grayish tinge around the bite mark. My fingers felt cold, even as the rest of me burned with fever. 6 years of eating challenges, I laughed weakly. And this is what finally takes me down. But we're not done yet, food warriors. Not while I can still talk. Not while I can still warn others. I settled back against my headboard, laptop balanced on my legs, and kept streaming as darkness fell over New York. The infected continued their assault on my door, and I could feel myself changing. But I wasn't going to stop. Not yet. After all, the show must go on. Hours passed and I was still conscious. Still streaming. Still me. Something wasn't right. Or maybe something was exactly right. The bite on my arm burned like fire, but the fever I'd felt initially seemed to have plateaued. My chat had been tracking time since I was bitten, and according to them, I should have turned by now. 3 hours, I told my viewers, checking the wound. The skin around it had taken on a mottled gray color, but the discoloration wasn't spreading as quickly as I'd expected. Most people turn within an hour, right? That's what you guys are saying in the chat. The pounding on my bedroom door had become background noise, a steady rhythm I'd almost gotten used to. The dresser still held, though I could see the wood splintering around the hinges. Through my window, Queens had transformed into something apocalyptic. Fires burned unchecked, casting an orange glow across the darkened city. The power had gone out in most buildings, leaving only flames and occasional muzzle flashes to illuminate the streets below. Maybe it's my size, I mused, reading theories from the chat. All this extra weight. Maybe it's slowing down the infection, diluting it somehow. I shifted on the bed, my laptop balanced precariously on my legs. First time being morbidly obese might actually be saving my life. My viewer count had stabilized around 1 million. People from all over the world were watching, sharing information about outbreaks in their own cities. Through them, I learned that New York wasn't alone. The infection had spread to major cities across the globe. "Boston's gone dark," I read from the chat. "Miami's under martial law, Los Angeles." I squinted at the rapidly scrolling messages. Los Angeles is burning. A massive explosion somewhere in Manhattan lit up the sky like daylight. I turned my laptop so viewers could see through my window. The comment section exploded with speculation about what had caused it. Gas main, military strike, desperate survivors. "No way to know," I told them, turning the camera back to me. "Cell networks are down. Internet's spotty. We're probably only still connected because my building has its own backup generator for the server room in the basement." My arm throbbed, drawing my attention back to the bite. The pain was intense but focused, like my body had created a barrier around the infection. Years of stretching my stomach to its limits, of pushing my body beyond normal boundaries. Maybe that same resilience was helping me now. "You know what's funny?" I said, wiping sweat from my forehead. "I always thought my size would get me killed. Heart attack, diabetes, something like that. Never thought it might actually save me from becoming one of them." The chat suddenly erupted with warnings. Through the window behind me, they could see movement on the fire escape. I turned just as a figure slammed against the glass, another infected. This one wearing the remains of a business suit. The window cracked but held. "Don't worry," I assured my viewers, trying to keep my voice steady. "These are hurricane windows. Building code after Sandy. They won't break easily." More infected joined the first, drawn by the light of my laptop screen. Their vacant eyes reflected the glow as they pressed against the glass, creating a nightmarish tableau for my viewers. "Let me show you something," I said, carefully standing up. My weight made the movement awkward, but I managed to reach my closet. Inside, behind piles of XXXL clothes and streaming equipment, I pulled out a small emergency kit. I wasn't completely unprepared, I explained, setting it on the bed. Got this after Hurricane Sandy. Never thought I'd need it for zombies, though. The kit contained basic supplies: flashlights, batteries, a hand crank radio, some protein bars, and a first aid kit. I started cleaning and bandaging my bite wound, narrating the process for my viewers. "Keep a wound clean, even during the apocalypse," I joked weakly, though I guess infection is the least of my worries right now. The radio only picked up emergency broadcasts, repeating the same instructions over and over. "Stay inside, avoid contact with infected individuals, wait for military assistance. Fat lot of good that does us now," I muttered, but kept the radio on low volume. The static was better than silence. A new sound cut through the night: helicopter rotors. I moved to the window, careful to stay back from the infected still clawing at the glass. Military choppers passed overhead, searchlights sweeping the streets below. "Looks like the cavalry's finally arriving," I said. But even as the words left my mouth, I watched one of the helicopters open fire on a crowd of people running from infected. Oh God, they're not here to save us, they're here to contain us. My viewers watched in horror as the military began implementing their containment protocol. The chat box filled with panicked messages as people realized what was happening. New York wasn't being rescued, it was being quarantined. "If you're still in the city," I warned, my voice grave, "stay hidden. Don't try to flag down help. They're not distinguishing between infected and survivors anymore." The dresser shuddered against my door as the infected outside redoubled their efforts to get in. The wood was beginning to splinter in earnest now. "I should be one of them," I said quietly, looking at my bandaged arm. "But I'm not. Not yet. And as long as I'm still me, I'm going to keep streaming, keep warning people, keep witnessing." I settled back on my bed, adjusting the laptop screen. So stick with me. Food warriors. This might be my last stream, but it's going to be the one that matters most. The dresser finally gave way with a splintering crack that echoed through my bedroom. As it toppled, I grabbed the broken leg that had snapped off. Solid oak, heavy and sturdy in my hands. "Well, food warriors," I said to my laptop, which I'd positioned on the desk for a clear view of the room. "Looks like we're about to find out if all those zombie movies got it right." The first infected through the door was the postal worker who'd bitten me earlier. She rushed at me with that terrible single-minded focus they all shared. I swung the makeshift club, catching her in the shoulder. The impact sent her staggering but didn't drop her. These things were stronger than they looked. "Come on," I muttered, backing away. All those eating challenges had to build some muscle under all this fat, right? My viewers watched as I circled the room, keeping the bed between me and the infected. Two more pushed through the doorway, a teenager in a blood-stained McDonald's uniform and what had once been a businessman. The chat was going crazy, a blur of warnings and encouragement. The teenager lunged first. I sidestepped, surprising myself with how quickly I could move when adrenaline kicked in. The momentum carried him past me, and I brought the oak leg down hard on the back of his head. He dropped and didn't get up. "That's how you do it," I panted, already turning to face the others. "Don't let anyone tell you fat guys can't dance." The businessman came at me next. I met his charge with my own bulk, driving him backward toward my broken window. The impact knocked the air from my lungs, but my weight proved advantageous. Before he could recover, I shoved hard, sending him tumbling through the shattered glass and over the balcony railing. 15-story express elevator, I quipped grimly, turning back to the room. Going down. More infected pushed through the doorway, but now I had space to move. I'd spent years learning to maneuver my large frame around my apartment, and that familiarity served me well now. Every piece of furniture became a weapon or barrier. One of them lunged at me near my streaming setup. I grabbed my heavy gaming chair and swung it in a wide arc, knocking the infected back. The chair's metal base left a dent in my wall, but I didn't care. Nothing in this apartment mattered anymore except survival. "Sorry about the security deposit," I told my viewers, my breathing heavy as I fought. Though I guess property damage is the least of my worries right now. The postal worker came at me again. This time she managed to sink her teeth into my shoulder before I could react. I roared in pain, grabbing her uniform and using my weight to slam her against the wall. "That's bite number 2, I announced, bringing the oak leg down hard. Still here though, still streaming. I fought my way into the living room, wanting more space to maneuver. My viewers got a tour of my apartment they never expected, me battling infected through my kitchen, using counter space and furniture to my advantage. Every room became a battleground. Near my kitchen island, another infected rushed me. I managed to sidestep, sending him crashing into my refrigerator. The impact knocked magnets and takeout menus to the floor, a bizarre moment of normality in this nightmare. "Always knew this place was too small," I gasped, shoving my kitchen table into 2 approaching infected. But now I'm grateful. Harder for them to surround me. I made it to my balcony doors, using them as a choke point. 3 more infected came at me together. I fought desperately, my wooden weapon cracking bones and splitting flesh. When one got too close, I grabbed him by his torn jacket and used my weight to throw him over the railing. "Down you go," I grunted, watching him disappear into the darkness. "Hope you enjoyed the view." The chat was a blur of messages. My viewer count now over 2 million. They watched as I fought my way back through the apartment, room by room, using everything I could as a weapon. A lamp became a club. My coffee table became a barrier. Even my collection of cooking pots found new purpose as I threw them at approaching infected. But they kept coming. 4 more pushed through my front door, drawn by the noise. One of them, a massive guy in gym clothes, charged me with surprising speed. His teeth found my forearm, adding another bite to my collection. I slammed him against my entertainment center, sending gaming consoles and DVDs scattering across the floor. "Really?" I panted, finally breaking free. I survive all those cardio warnings from my doctor just to get taken out by some gym rat zombie. Fighting in the apartment was like a deadly dance, one where every step could be my last. My size made me strong but slow. Each movement had to count. Each swing had to matter. I couldn't afford to waste energy. They got in more bites. My back, my side, my leg. Each wound burned like fire, but I kept fighting. My apartment, once a shrine to my streaming career, became a war zone. The walls were painted with blood, mine and theirs. Furniture lay broken and scattered. Through it all, the stream continued. My laptop, still broadcasting from my bedroom, captured everything. The chat was filled with theories about why I hadn't turned yet. Some thought it was my size. Others suggested immunity. A few believed I was already infected but somehow fighting it off. "Maybe," I gasped between swings. "All this extra weight is good for something after all. More mass means slower infection, right? That's just science." I fought my way back to my bedroom, trying to reach my laptop. The infected had thinned out. I counted 6 or 7 motionless bodies scattered throughout my apartment. But more were coming. I could hear them in the hallway, drawn by the noise of battle. A fresh wave of them pushed through my bedroom door just as I reached my streaming setup. I was exhausted, bleeding from multiple bites, armed with nothing but a broken piece of furniture and my considerable bulk. "Okay, food warriors," I said, positioning myself between the laptop and the approaching infected. "Might need to find somewhere more defensive to continue this stream." The bathroom. It was small, with only one entrance to defend. If I could reach it, I grabbed my laptop with one hand, still swinging my makeshift club with the other. The nearest infected rushed me, forcing me to drop my weapon to keep hold of the computer. I used my shoulder to ram him aside, buying just enough space to reach the bathroom door. Once inside, I slammed the door shut, using the toilet tank lid as a barricade. It wouldn't hold them forever, but it might buy me time. "New streaming location," I announced, setting up the laptop on the sink. "Little cramped in here, but I've dealt with worse." Remember that tiny airplane bathroom during my Tokyo food tour? The infected pounded on the door, their relentless assault making the wood shudder. But for now, I was safe. I could catch my breath, assess my wounds, maybe figure out why I was still human despite being bitten at least half a dozen times. "So," I said, wiping blood from my face as I checked the chat, "who's still with me because this stream? It's far from over." The bathroom felt smaller than ever as I sat on the floor, my laptop balanced precariously on the sink. Blood dripped steadily from my wounds, creating dark pools on the white tile. The pounding on the door had become white noise, a constant rhythm I barely noticed anymore. "Let's do a damage report for the viewers," I said, my voice rougher than before. "Multiple bites, shoulder, arm, leg, back. Probably more I haven't found yet. Still human somehow. Though..." I paused, noticing my reflection in the mirror. My skin had taken on a grayish tinge spreading outward from each bite. Maybe not for much longer. The chat scrolled rapidly, a mix of concern, theories, and desperate suggestions. My viewer count had reached 3 million. 3 million people watching my final hours. The irony wasn't lost on me. "You know what's funny?" I managed a weak laugh. "Spent years killing myself with food for views. Now I'm actually dying, and I've never had more viewers." A violent shudder ran through my body, making me drop my phone. When I reached for it, I noticed my movements were becoming stiff, mechanical. The infection was finally winning. "I can feel it now," I told my audience, trying to keep my voice steady. "It's like being filled with cold lead, starting in my fingers and toes, working its way in." Another shudder. Guess all this extra mass only slowed it down. Couldn't stop it completely. The pounding on the door grew louder. The toilet tank lid wouldn't hold forever. But at this point, did it matter? I was dead either way. "Always thought I'd die from a heart attack. Too many burgers, you know?" My words were starting to slur. "Instead, I get to be Queen's biggest zombie, literally." My vision blurred, then sharpened in a strange way. Colors seemed wrong, but movement, even the smallest shift of shadow under the door, caught my attention with startling clarity. Was this how they saw the world? "Listen," I forced the words out, fighting to stay coherent. "If anyone's still watching, if this stream somehow survives, you need to know something." The chat was moving too fast to read now, messages blurring together as my vision started to fade. The burning hunger in my chest grew stronger with each passing second. "Being fat, it slows the infection. Buys you time. Maybe that's useful. Maybe that helps someone understand this thing better." My hands were shaking violently now. "And if you see me out there, if I'm one of them, just remember." The door cracked. Splinters of wood flew inward as the infected finally broke through, but I barely noticed. The transformation was accelerating, each heartbeat pushing the infection further through my system. "Remember, I tried to help, tried to show people." The stream continued, but Thaddeus was no longer speaking to his viewers. His massive frame convulsed as the infection reached its final stage. 3 million viewers watched in horror as humanity drained from his eyes, replaced by something ancient and hungry. The cold spread through his chest, reaching his heart. His vision went dark, then returned changed. The world became a blur of movement and primal instinct. His hands curled into claws, fingers cracking as they contorted into new shapes. His jaw went slack, then snapped with terrible purpose. A sound escaped his throat. Not a scream, but a deep, guttural growl that seemed to come from somewhere inhuman. His movements became predatory, each twitch and turn driven by pure instinct. The massive frame that had once held him back now made him more terrifying, an infected of unprecedented size and strength. The last thing viewers saw was his face lunging toward the camera, eyes vacant and ravaged with hunger, mouth stretched impossibly wide. Strings of saliva dripped from blackened teeth as he attacked the screen, drawn by the movement of his own reflection. The laptop fell, its screen cracking on the bathroom floor. The stream continued for several seconds more, capturing the ceiling and the wet sounds of transformation. Through the broken screen, viewers caught glimpses. a massive shape moving with horrible purpose, the shuffle of enormous feet, the scrape of claws on tile. Then, finally, darkness. 3 million people watched Thaddeus die that night. 3 million people saw what the infection did, how it changed someone. His final stream served as both warning and witness to the horror sweeping through New York. The channel went dark, but somewhere in the ruins of Queens, something massive and hungry began to move through the streets. In his final moments of humanity, he'd proven that size could slow the infection, valuable information for survivors. But he'd also become something worse, a supersized threat, a mountain of infected flesh driven by insatiable hunger. His massive frame, once a subject of mockery and entertainment, now made him one of the most dangerous infected in the city. The stream ended, but Thaddeus's story didn't. Reports would surface in the following days, stories of an enormous infected that could tear through barricades, that could withstand multiple gunshots, that seemed to retain just enough of its former self to be more cunning than its smaller brethren. The food streamer had become an urban legend in the zombie apocalypse, a cautionary tale about how the things that define us in life might make us even more dangerous in death. His channel stayed up for weeks after, that final stream a haunting document of transformation. Survivors studied it, trying to understand the infection's progression. Scientists who survived the initial outbreak noted how his mass had slowed the change, giving them valuable data about the infection's spread through the body. But for most viewers, it was simply the last broadcast of Thaddeus the Endless Appetite Morrison, a man who'd lived his life on camera and chose to die the same way, providing one final service to his audience, even as he became something monstrous. His final viewer count 3.2 million. His final like count immeasurable. His final contribution to humanity's understanding of the infection priceless. And somewhere in Queens, in the darkness of those early days, a massive shape continued to move through the streets, driven by an appetite that would never end.